Hey, so clutter. Do you struggle with clutter? Maybe it's your garage or your closet or your desk, or maybe it's something more like your email inbox that's just a total disaster. So you probably know, if so, that you are in very good company. In fact, I think that every single client I've ever had has spoken to me about this in some way. And every single client I've had has seen positive change in this arena. So the stored complex trauma called learned distress can really contribute to clutter in a number of ways. One of them is perfectionism, the feeling that I could never do anything perfectly enough, and so stuff piles up on you while you're waiting to be perfect enough. Or for some people, it's just this core learned distress feeling that there's something wrong with me, and that really just sort of drags them down to a place where they just can't quite get on top of things or stay on top of things. And another one is just this core feeling that I'm not safe. I've seen that contribute to clutter. Regardless of which piece of learned distress might be causing your clutter issues, you can remove it. And when you do, this very cool thing is going to happen at some point. You're going to call me and say something like my clients say all the time. Sarah, I woke up on Saturday morning and I was looking for something in my closet, and before I knew it, I had cleared out half of my closet, organized it, cleared out 20 years of old clothes I haven't worn, and I don't even know what happened to me because I've never been able to do this in 15 years of really wanting to try. And so that happens with everybody, regardless of if they're really focused on clutter or not. And then there's some folks who are more focused on that issue and see really big change here. So I'm thinking about a client who had tried everything. She'd read every book about decluttering. She'd, watched courses and videos and all that stuff. Had not been able to touch it. She'd had packed boxes that she'd moved back and forth across country a couple of times that she never even opened. And she was really struggling. And so she was unlearning learned distress. And we went for, at one point, like a month or a few weeks anyway, without being able to talk. And then after that, she called me and she said, well, I don't think much happened in this past month. And I said, okay, well, tell me about your month. And she said, well, I just finished up the basement, clearing out the boxes in the basement. And I said, well, wait, what? That's amazing. You got through the whole basement since we talked? And she said, oh, wait, I actually got through the whole house since we talked. I've cleared everything extra out. I've given stuff away to my kids and donated stuff, and I've really gone through the whole house. And I said, wow, that's totally amazing. And she said, yeah, I guess it really is. I hadn't realized how much had happened since we talked. And then I was asking her about, the rest of her month, and she said, well, I've been feeling really awful. Just after we talked the last time, I developed vertigo, and I've been dizzy and nauseous since we talked the last time. And I said, wait a second. So you got 20, 30 years of clutter cleared out, all the while you are feeling dizzy and nauseous the whole time? And she said, oh, yeah, I did. And I said, well, okay, let's keep going. What else happened this month? And she said, well, there's this one day where I found a dead mouse as I was working in the basement on boxes. And I walked upstairs and my husband cleaned it out for me. And then I went back to working on it down there in the basement. And I said, well, is that different? And she said, oh, yeah, totally. I mean, it's amazing I'm still living there, because before this, I would have had to move out. I wouldn't have even seen the inside of my house ever again because mice terrify me. And I said, so it was different, right? You just went back in the basement and kept working? And she said, oh yeah, that was actually quite different. And so she was demonstrating the hallmarks of removing learned distress rather than just controlling it or managing it. The hallmarks are that you remove layers, and then your behavior and your feeling change automatically, because the place where that learned distress was is filled in by your core well-being, and it propels you forward, and it makes things easier, and it makes you feel better without you having to work at it. So I hope that you can hear from this that if clutter is a struggle for you, that really can change, because it really can. And thank you so much for joining me and listening today out here in nature. And I will see you again next time. I hope you have a great day.